many other players do you have concerns about? John O'Shea, Stephen Ward?
Well, yeah, John obviously he came off in the game. I think it's a grade 1 hamstring injury, which I think is the obviously all hamstrings are concerning, but it's the one that would it's less concerning than if it was a grade 3 from that viewpoint. So and only time will tell. It is very, very it might be tight going, but we'll see. He obviously misses the first game through suspension, so but we'll give it every single possibility.
The latest on Shane Long, Martin?
Shane's improving, and I think as I said, I spoke to him last week, and he's optimistic, but he's been always optimistic, regardless. So and sometimes these injuries going on very, very nicely, then you have a 4 or 5 days where nothing happens, and you think, well, have I spoken too soon? But I think he's optimistic that he can make it.
Would you expect him to see some playing time for his club before he comes in, or is it likely to be touch and go right up until?
I think it'll be touch and go myself, and then of course even if he does feel as if he's absolutely fine, then it's a matter of trying to get into the side, and at the moment they're going very strongly up front. So, but for us it would be great if he was available.
How big a loss is John Walters for the first leg? He's someone who's arguably been Ireland's most consistent player during the qualifying campaign.
Yeah, I would agree on all fronts. I think he has been fantastic for us. He will be a loss, no question about that. I went to the game last night and he did very well, scored a great goal. Maybe could have scored one before that as well too. Chelsea goalkeepers made a really good save. But he is a loss for us because, as you say, he's been exceptional in a lot of the games. He's come up big as well too with a couple of important goals. And but hopefully he would be available for the second game, injury apart. He did come off last night as well too, so I'm hoping that he's going to be okay. But yeah, he'll be a loss for the first game.
Alan Judge is in there as well, Martin. What is it about his recent performance?
He's doing really well, really well. I'll have another look on Friday night as well too. They play QPR on Friday night, but every time that I've gone to see him play, he's been very good indeed. And while these matches might be big games to throw somebody with not that much international experience behind him, he is doing very well.
Martin, how concerned are you about the goalkeeper's position at this point? Because obviously Shea had an injury. You're hoping he'll come back, and if he does, is he your number one still? Well,
I think that it is a concern naturally, because you would like if all your goalkeeping choices were actually playing first team football. Shea came off injured, as you know, in the game. Darren Randolph went in. I thought he did very well against Germany. Took it in his stride, and he would have been entitled to be very nervous about that. But he took it in his stride and did well in the game. David, at this moment, who has done very little wrong during my time here as the main goalkeeper, is not playing regularly, not playing at the minute with Millwall. And Rob Elliott has come into a few games, which is good, possibly unexpected from that viewpoint. And then you've got Kieran Westwood. Kieran didn't play last night because of an injury that's been niggling with him. Seems he gets fit for the league games, but last night I think Sheffield Wednesday wanted him to play, but I think he felt too sore in it. And so yeah, but closer to the time we'll deal with it.
But if Shea declares himself fit,
we'll see. I don't think that. I think that Shea will declare himself fit, because I think he was on the bench last night, and the game took on obviously a great deal of importance. Stoke wanting to qualify for the quarterfinals, and I think that Mark Hughes decided to go with what he would be considered his number one choice. So that's absolutely fine. So I think that Shea will be fit. Will certainly be fit to declare himself available anyway.
If Wes-Whelan arrives in fully fit, can he play the 90 minutes in the space of 4 days?
Well, I think that I work in the assumption, or try to work in the assumption, that players, regardless of what age they are will make themselves available for both games. They do come in quick succession, and I say Wes wouldn't be the only one that you would be have a bit of concern about being able to do the 2 games. Some players come in and are absolutely full of it, but yet feel maybe tired. I thought that 1 or 2 of our players looked a wee bit leg weary in Poland in the second game. I think understandably so, because of the effort that they put in against Germany, and the turnaround was very, very quick. So I think you have to take then the intensity of the games. I think you have to take a lot of things into consideration. But I work in the assumption that the players will make themselves, or hopefully declare themselves, available for both games if selected.
Do you then have to manage for the 2 games?
I think so, yeah. I think that I think there's always a great deal of management involved in it. Player management. Look at. I mean, I'm close in the scene, so I'm watching the players train. And if someone comes in and says to you that I don't think that I'm able to play or able to start a second game, of course you'll take that into consideration. I think the players' needs come first for a start in that aspect. If someone else comes in and says, listen, I'm just feeling a little bit tired, but I could really start the game. If you wanted me to start, I might not be able to last 90 minutes. I'll take all of that into consideration, as I have done since the start of the tournament.
Do you prefer when players come to you and are honest like that and say, I mightn't be able to play the game?
If they feel that way, if they feel there's absolutely nothing wrong with it. If some player and if it thought, I think that they would do that there for the good of the team, not just for themselves.
You've had a bit of time to look at Bosnia now, I guess, since the draw was made. Have your initial thoughts changed on them?
I think they're strong. I think that they themselves would admit they're coming good at the right time. The change of the manager coming in is from a sluggish start. They're absolutely flying. I watched the game against Cyprus. Thought they did very well in the match away from home. Difficult. Cyprus had they won the game, they themselves would have got into the playoffs, considering Israel didn't win their game in Belgium. So and because of that situation, I think that Bosnia have come through that there with flying colours. They're strong. They've got some really good players playing in big leagues, and they'll be difficult. But we're going in with plenty of confidence. The Germany game will have given us that. I don't think the Poland match will have diminished that confidence, and we're ready for the 2 games.
When it was obviously the Poland game was the first competitive defeat in a long, long time, you got the sense that the players they were taking the positives out of having a playoff before, rather than an opportunity missed in Poland.
I think that it had maybe had we scored maybe the goal maybe about 6-7 minutes from the end. We might not even be talking about that now. Ifs, buts and maybes, it's not in the equation. I think the game, the turnaround was very, very quick. I must admit, of course, it's absolutely the same for Poland, but they've come on the back of getting a very late game, or late equaliser against Scotland. They were playing at home in front of 60,000, so it was, in terms of that there, it was difficult. I think a lot of international teams would have found it that way. We had that little opportunity to do so, but here we're in the playoffs. We start afresh. We go away first, home in Dublin second. And if there's anything like the atmosphere that there was against Germany, we'll give ourselves a chance.
Martin, just a word on the fans and the difficulties they're going to have getting over to Bosnia, and that there's so little tickets for the fans.
I think that Ian was telling me that there's capacity of 11,000 people. I think that we have less than 1,000 tickets available, and that's always been an issue. It's been an issue in the away games that we've had here before, particularly if there's something as condensed as it's going to be. And but we'll just have to try and deal with it as best we can. The support away from home has been terrific right since we opened up against Georgia, and they do make themselves heard. I thought the atmosphere at the Aviva against Germany was pretty extraordinary.
Saw a few Irish players scoring in penalty shootouts last night. Will you be practicing them?
Do you know what? I actually don't see why not. I don't see why we shouldn't practice penalties. You can never evoke the same type of atmosphere. It doesn't really matter. We've tried it when I was at all my clubs. We've practiced penalties beforehand. It's nice to know that some people who want to take the penalties on the day of the game are up for it. Some players I've noticed who want to take them in practice shy away when the big time happens. It does happen, but it's worth practicing, absolutely, because we might as well be ready for every eventuality. As I say, how realistic that can be in a practice ground, generally speaking, maybe at the end of training when you have a little competition. I'm not so sure that that's still the same, but it's still nice to know that if you have practiced taking at least 20 penalties in the couple of days leading up to it, each one, that if you're called upon to do so, that you have an idea of what you're thinking about doing.
In the first leg, Martin, with John Walters missing, and if Robbie isn't on the pitch, do you know who would be our penalty taker?
I think that it depends. Obviously, it depends who's in the pitch and who's playing at that particular time. I think that first things first. I think if someone comes up and there's a designated penalty taker and he wants to take it, that's great news, really great news. If he has been designated to do so and doesn't fancy it on the day of the game, it becomes a different issue. But I think that I don't think there'll be shortage of takers.
Is the defence the area you're most concerned about, particularly for the first leg with John O'Shea and his experience?
We naturally we have a few problems, but nothing's insurmountable. We're going into the game. We've had there's not a game that we've played that we haven't had problems with either players injured leading up to, or the occasional suspension here and there. Those things are mounting up, obviously. With a number of players on 2 yellow cards. You're trying to manage that situation as well, to a couple of players on 3 as well, to people pick up extra ones along the way. Those things you have to deal with over the tournament. I just felt that the extra couple of games that we've had, that teams have had, I think it would be very difficult to go through 12 matches and not pick up a number of suspensions. But in terms of players out, in terms of players injured, lots can happen between, particularly today, and when the squad gathers. And it's an anxious time, of course, always is at this stage when you've got a couple of games still to negotiate at club level.
Is Kieran Clark in
He's doing, yes, yeah, absolutely. Kieran is coming on well, and I think that he is. I think he's back in training again, which is good news, and I would be delighted to have his services.
Did you consider at all Damien Delaney for this game, considering John O'Shea being missing? Did you think about maybe calling him up?
No, I didn't think about calling him up. No, Damien's not in the side at this minute at Crystal Palace. You might have noticed, but that wasn't the point. No, I haven't done so.
Do you think not being able to get back to Dublin the night of the match will negate to an extent the fact that you have the second game at home?
Well, that was out of our control. It's something that we have to deal with. We've been unable to do so. I think that other nations have had the same problem. Well, I call it a problem. Some nations prefer to stay the night of the game back in the hotel in the country in which they played, and then travel out the next day. That hasn't been the case for us so far. We've always wanted to get back again relatively quickly, working in the assumption that players generally after a match are still coming down from a high, whether you've won or lost, and it's very difficult to sleep. So from that viewpoint, yeah, it's a bit awkward, but it's not, again, nothing's insurmountable.
And when will you travel out to Bosnia and Herzegovina?
We will travel out the day of the game because the day before the game, because of the flight can take us directly there. So I think it's just slightly over 3 hours. There is, of course, there is an hour as well in terms of bus travelling, I think, obviously, to Zenica, but such is life.
Martin, Bosnia have probably one of the most dangerous free kick takers at the moment
Yeah.
in Pjanic.
Mhm.
I mean, what are your thoughts on the threat that he poses and how best maybe Ireland can limit it?
Well, I think it's something that I was nearly going to say it goes without saying, but it's actually worth reiterating that what you don't want to be doing is giving away silly free kicks around the edge of the penalty area and just slightly beyond that. That would go for any game, but particularly if you have someone as dangerous as that, who is pretty expert at it. I think that you're going to give yourself a bit more trouble than you would want. So if it happens and it's a genuine foul and you couldn't do anything about it, then we'll have to try and deal with it. But of course it's a problem. He wouldn't be the only problem. I think Dzeko, if he's fit, which he probably will be, is a top quality player, playing big football as well too at club level. Has been a brilliant player for the last 4 or 5 years, and these players are good. They're good players, so we'll have to deal with it.